Dear Diary, today I played The Witcher Enhanced.
Enhance.
Enhance!
Enhance!
Enhance computer images!
And it was surprisingly good. My first encounter with this game was back in 2008, when my godfather made me a gift. The Witcher on CD. At this point it's like an ancient relic from prehistoric times. I also really like this aggressive description from random site. An old game with realistic outlook on things. Other RPGs about yet another saving of the world. Go look on a shelf of fairy tales. Seems like somebody haven't played to the end of the game. And it's PG-16, which is quite interesting. And when I think about it, I was about 12 at the time. Uh-oh. I've played the games I didn't suppose to all my childhood, and I didn't turn into a serial killer or something just yet. But it doesn't really matter, because the game didn't even start on my PCs, so after about 3 years with some parts upgraded, I tried again. And the first thing I saw was an epic intro cutscene. I highly recommend to watch it if you haven't played the game. It got me really riled up, pumped up and ready to go witchering. And the FPS was so low that it was unbearable to play, and I got stuck in Kaer Morhen with this strange battle mechanic where you need to click in the right moment, and because of the lag I couldn't do it. And this mechanic was so weird that I couldn't decide if it was a glitch or not. What else is strange that I could run every other game from this time period, and if not many people played The Witcher 1, that's certainly one of the reasons why. So I didn't have big expectations, and to add to that, I hated The Witcher 2 and left it on halfway. Now in 2020 The Witcher on Netflix came out, and for that occasion there was a sale on Steam. And I thought that might be a good time to explore this universe. I read The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny and hopped into the first game. And oh boy, I loved it. Not from the very start. This Kaer Morhen location, the starting castle, I know it's like a tutorial, but I wish it's just been a little bit shorter. Such a deceiving first expression. You are confined, you have no free will, you have to follow this main quest, and on top of that queer battle mechanic with the same animation over and over again. By the end of it I felt like Andy who just escaped Shawshank. When they finally release you, that's where game starts to shine. That's the part when you can ditch the main quest and suck in this grim, dark world in the whichever way you want, like losing your money in tabletop game, learning that everyone hates you, getting your face beat up by dirty peasants for pocket change reward, hilariously trying to find a place to sleep after learning that Geralt can be intoxicated. Such a simple thing to include, and it adds to experience, but not many games do that. Having sex with everything that resembles females for collectible cards, well, that's a gold mine. It gets to the point when you don't really want to have sex with this woman, but you want the cards.
The cards! The cards!
If in the future everyone will be asexuals as a next stage of human evolution, collectible cards, unique for everyone.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I f***ing hate video games, because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Welcome, a strapping lad. Were I just a few years younger.
Some people think, actually a lot of people think, that by playing The Witcher you will learn more about Slavic mythology and culture. Well, as for mythology, it's a great misconception. Koshi is not a large, summoned arachne monster. He's an old evil wizard like Voldemort, but with the tendency for kidnapping young maids. It's like, imagine if I took a barnacle, attached elephant legs on it and lion's head, and called it a werewolf. That might confuse some people, I think, and they do this a lot when they just stick real mythical creatures' names on creatures that they just made up, but maybe Sapkowski has something to do with this. As for the culture, yeah, I can see that, but it's more atmospheric than something specific. Overall, nature, clothing, architecture, people, quite far Western Slavic, but certainly has a flair to it. And of course, everyone loves vodka. I don't know if it's sad for me or laughable.
Ooh, the vodka's nicely chilled.
Gentlemen, cheers!
Damn all dissonances.
And it brings us to alchemy, something I really liked. Alcohol is the base for all potions, and you have to keep buying it in large quantities. I just imagine that everyone around Geralt thinks that he's a complete drunkard for this reason. For basic needs, alchemy is quite simple, maybe a bit confusing at the start, but it also has depth, and if you know what you're doing and have the materials, you can combine them in such a way that will create an enhanced version of this potion with bonus effects. And also you can brew potions without Geralt knowing the recipe. For example, if you start a new game and just know the recipe or look up it on wiki, you can create really powerful stuff early on. Potions and oils, sword oils are very effective. Oil that doubles your damage for 24 in-game hours, don't mind if I do. There is a potion that turns you into Quicksilver and makes you almost invincible. I usually used it as a last resort. And the game does not just present you with everything on a silver plate. You have to earn it, you have to do it yourself. I can easily see the guy who hates alchemy and thinks that picking flowers is not very manly. There is an actual representation of that in one of the witches in Kaer Morhen.
But to be honest, I don't care for all these powders, mushrooms, and other trash.
And yeah, you can complete the game just swinging your sword and using one healing potion. But you also can make a game easier for yourself if you just put a little mind to it. For example, there is a quest where they tell you, "This crypt is infested with ghouls, please help us." And you say, "Hold on." You open bestiary, you read about ghouls, and you see, you need strong fighting style and necrophage oil. And because it's a crypt, you also brew night vision potion. And you go in and have no difficulty fighting them at all, even though you never fought them before and just read about them. And I find this fascinating and rarely done when preparation for battle is more important than the battle itself. Thanks, Anzu. The Codex, I haven't thought I will be reading anything above necessary in this game, but information was so well kept and so properly presented that I just couldn't stop myself. I read through almost all the books I could find and been standing there like a junkie carrying the last warrant to the bookseller. It just felt like it was made by people who cared, by people who loved what they were doing, who had unique vision and wanted to share it. And despite its flaws, you can tell in many instances that they tried and brought something different. And it's time to talk about the story, and if you don't want to be spoiled, close this video right now. 3, 2, 1. There are so many cheesy twists. This homeless looking person Thaler was a Temerian spy. The detective with depressing backstory was actually dead. The head of city guards, Bill Murray, was a dirty lycanthrope. This guy is time-traveling Alvin, and Bruce Willis was the ghost all along. As you can tell, I didn't really care much about the plot. For me it was like an excuse for game to progress. I didn't like the moment when in the end of Outskirts of Vizima there was a choice between help an innocent woman that just tries to live by, or side with fanatic ignorant fucking mob and burn her at the stake. What is this? I did like confrontation between Squirtle and the Order of Flaming Boys. It really managed to put me in between when I couldn't decide, or rather didn't want to decide and wanted to just remain neutral. And it brought the same feeling like in the short story The Lesser Evil, which is, I assuming, what they were aiming for. Siegfried, the decent guy which I thought will betray me horribly half of the game. And he never did. The quality I can't admire enough. And in the end I had to go against elves because they just can't stop themselves from threatening innocent people in front of me. I like Dandelion and wish he had more lines or quests.
Then bold Foltest uttered these words. Virtuous Radovid.
What the hell is that?
I'm trying to keep a faithful and accurate record of these events.
He said, "Stop deliberating, son. We need to put out the fire in this whorehouse."
Geralt, you have no sense of poetry. There's the truth of time and the truth of legend.
You'll never change.
Kalksting was annoying at first, but then I just got used to his eccentric and oblivious attitude. Too bad we'll never see him again. Triss took up a role of Yennefer, and Funny thing is, as I was playing I thought it was an alternate history of Witcher, but no, after I read that the story happens after the whole saga. But why then we have Alvin as Ciri, constantly disappearing child of Elder Blood, Aetherian prophecy, Scoia'tael being them pesky rebels again, Zoigle as sewer monster, and Trace's mother figure. Everything keeps softly repeating, and don't get me wrong, I actually like that they took things from the books and made it into the game, but if we are talking about story progression, it gets kinda strange. Or like the moment when the King Fortress wants to converse with you in private, and you come in thinking, what can it be? And he's like,
"My spies tell me you play poker. And, well, I have trouble finding worthy opponents at court. They fear I would have their heads if I lost. Care to play?"
My eyes turn into dollar signs when I see the bets. Hell yeah, I will strip this king naked, and I lost first round. And the Fortress was like, well, I'm satisfied now, and you can go. Story-wise, I liked side quests more, and just messing around with people. Because in side quests you can actually sometimes fail, and there you have conclusive decisions. When in the main story, it doesn't really matter what you choose. In the end, all the bad guys will die and Geralt will win. That's why I never took those two main villains seriously. And by the end of the game I was so overpowered that I could just palm Igni on everyone. I had zero concerns about any bosses at the end. Even though I played on the hardest difficulty, it was ridiculous, and I felt very good about my choices in skill tree. Because as I heard, some people actually had problems and felt very underleveled in the end. Great atmosphere, rich storytelling, not so great swordplay. It took me 60 hours to complete this game, and I rate Witcher Enhanced Edition 75 out of 100. Oh, and a cinematic in the end, incredibly epic.